Have you ever felt so alone that every little noise starts to feel like something else? Ever wondered if emotional isolation doesn't just attract sadness, but something darker? He just wanted to forget his ex, buried under blankets, lost in late-night movies and silence. But that spring, when the world felt light, something heavy began circling his home. At first, it was just metallic clanging. Then, a child in the yard hitting a pipe. And finally, two men crouched outside, waiting for the door to open. What if grief leaves a crack open, just wide enough for them to slip through? What if they were always there, waiting for you to feel weak enough? This is a true story. And it's going to make you think twice about ignoring strange sounds in the middle of the night. The midnight clangs. He had lost his appetite days ago. Ever since the breakup with Clara, everything felt slow, tasteless, and drained of color. His couch became a war zone of emotions, and nighttime movies were his only form of escape. On one of those nights, a loud metallic clang echoed through his window. He ignored it, assuming it came from the movie, until he paused it, and the sound kept going. The air around him froze, thick and suffocating. He sat still, staring into the black reflection on his TV screen. The noise returned, clang, clang, clang. It was steady, deliberate, definitely real. Maybe outside in the yard. Maybe closer. It was the kind of sound that shouldn't have stood out, but did. Curious and increasingly uneasy, he peeked through the window, expecting to see a stray animal or maybe loose guttering. But what he saw chilled his blood. A child. Small, thin, wearing a dirty oversized white shirt. Holding a PVC pipe, the child banged it against the metal gate. The face was hidden under a hoodie. The head hung low. He stepped back from the glass, heart racing. What child would be out here at this hour, doing that? He picked up his phone, considering calling the police. But he hesitated. Something stopped him. Pity, or maybe fear. He looked out again. The child had stopped hitting the gate and now stood still, directly facing the house. A whisper escaped him, "What do you want?" As if hearing it, the child took 2 slow steps toward the front door. The banging had stopped. Now there was only silence. Except for his own pulse pounding in his ears. He moved to the door, slowly unlocking it. But before opening it all the way, he caught movement in the corner of his eye. 2 men. Crouched behind the short wall by his garden. Perfectly still, perfectly hidden, except now, he had seen them. Their features were obscured by shadow, but their eyes reflected the porch light like predators. They weren't surprised. They were waiting. The child wasn't lost. She was bait. He slammed the door shut and bolted it, falling backward. His phone rang, his mom. 3rd call that night. He didn't answer. Instead, he sat on the floor, staring at the door like it might implode. Outside, the pipe clang started again. 3 sharp hits. Closer this time. Then footsteps. Not leaving. Circling. The next hours dragged on. He didn't sleep. Just sat there clutching a kitchen knife and his phone, waiting for something, anything, to break the silence. But nothing came. In the morning, he rushed to a neighbor's house, breathless, recounting the events. Police searched. They found nothing. No prints. No pipe. No signs of entry. For days after, the sound haunted him. That rhythmic knocking echoed in his mind. He never saw the child's face, but he knew, if he had opened the door, she would have stepped aside. And the men, they would have stepped in. Maybe it was a robbery. Maybe worse. Since then, he watches every movie with the volume high, so he can hear what's coming before it's too late. The ice cream truck stalker. It was spring break, and he had come home from college to rest. The plan was simple: catch up with family, sleep in, enjoy the peace. But that peace cracked when a nostalgic, off-key jingle pierced the morning silence. An old-fashioned ice cream truck song, playing at 6:30 a.m. On the first day, he thought it was weird but shrugged it off. Who sells ice cream that early? The second day, he watched from the window. The truck was at the far end of the street. Engine off. Music still playing. The driver wore sunglasses and a faded baseball cap. He wasn't serving anyone. He wasn't doing anything. Just sitting. Day after day, it came back. Same time. Same tune. Sometimes staying for hours. The truck crept closer to his house each time. The neighborhood kids didn't go near it. No one did. It was like everyone else had learned to ignore it, but he hadn't. He couldn't. One evening, he sat on the porch, holding a mug of coffee, determined to outstare the driver. The truck remained still for over an hour. Then, the driver raised a pair of binoculars, aimed straight at him. The smile never changed. His hand rested on something in his lap. A walkie-talkie? A switch? He didn't know. But he bolted inside. Heart pounding, he locked every door and window. The feeling wasn't paranoia, it was certainty. That man wasn't here to sell treats. He was watching. Targeting. The spring sun faded, but the truck stayed parked. The haunting tune continued, like a lullaby laced with menace. That night, at 2 a.m., something changed. He heard soft footsteps in the yard. Looked outside. The truck was now parked directly in front of the house. Lights off. Music silent. And in the yard, the driver. And 2 children. Standing motionless. All staring at his bedroom window. The same dead-eyed gaze. He locked himself in the bathroom. No lights. No movement. Just the sound of something scraping along the exterior wall. Morning came slowly. By daylight, everything was gone. No truck. No children. Just the backyard gate ajar, and tiny footprints near the old sandbox. 2 days later, a headline hit the local news: twin siblings had gone missing in the next town over. He froze. Same age. Same faces. Same clothes. The same 2 kids who had stood in his yard. He knew it. But how do you report something like that without sounding insane? He stopped leaving the house. The truck didn't return. But sometimes, late in the day, he still hears it. That same broken jingle, faint and distant. Like a lullaby echoing through the trees. He knows what it means. That he's still being watched. That it's not over. Because true horror isn't monsters in the closet. It's a smile in broad daylight. A sound you thought was harmless. A van parked outside, waiting. And no one else sees it but you. Eavesdropped by a ghost caller. He was a high-end BMW salesman, the kind who always had answers. His life was calculated and precise, until one night, his phone rang from an unknown number. He almost didn't answer. But he did. And what he heard was himself. A recording played. His own voice, mid-conversation, talking about car specs to a client. No one else on the line. No response. Just his part of the dialogue. Like someone had recorded his side of the call, and was playing it back to him. He laughed it off. A prank? Some glitch? But it happened again the next night. Another number. Another one-sided call. He started recognizing different conversations from his week. Pitches, jokes, personal comments. Each clip sliced away the other half. Only his voice echoed back at him. Alone. It got under his skin. Who was recording these calls? He changed passwords, updated his phone, even checked for spyware. But the calls didn't stop. They came from different numbers each night. Always late. Always silent except for his own voice. But then something changed. On the fifth night, the voice wasn't from a real conversation. It was his inner thoughts. He heard himself speaking about the phone calls, the fear, the paranoia, things he never said out loud. But they were in his voice. His tone. Words he remembered thinking. How were they being recorded? He ditched the phone. Got a new number. New SIM. Started fresh. That night, he finally felt free. Until the new phone rang. Unknown number. He picked up. Who's there? It was his own voice. From the first call. The entire cycle had followed him. He stopped sleeping. He started hearing himself in other places, TVs, ads, voicemails. Everything echoed. Everything repeated. It wasn't a person behind this anymore. It was something else. Something that had learned how to become him. The seventh night, the final call came. This time, there was static. Wet footsteps in the background. His voice whispered, "You listened too long, now it's my turn." The line went dead. The silence afterward was worse than the calls. Now he answers every unknown call. Not out of curiosity, but fear. Fear that not answering is worse. That whatever's behind the voice is still out there. Listening. Recording. Waiting to speak again. Because the scariest thing isn't being watched. It's being replaced. The reflection room. He had just moved into an old apartment above a hardware store. Cheap rent, decent view, and most importantly, quiet. The place had one oddity, a narrow room with no windows and mirrored walls. The landlord had warned him it was once used as a photo studio, but now it was just storage. Or so he thought. From the first night, that room bothered him. Even with the door shut, he felt it. Like the air near it vibrated differently. Warmer. Thicker. The mirrors inside were all mismatched, some cracked, some fogged. But they all reflected the same thing, nothing. Or rather, nothing unusual, until he noticed a delay. While retrieving a box from the back, he glanced into the mirror and saw himself enter. But he hadn't moved yet. His reflection lagged. Just a second, but enough to feel wrong. He chalked it up to sleep deprivation, maybe some weird trick of light. But once you see a glitch like that, you keep watching for it. Over the next few days, it got worse. His reflection would blink when he didn't. Move its lips when he was silent. At night, with the hallway lights off, he swore he could see faint outlines in the mirror, shapes standing behind him. But whenever he turned to look, there was nothing. Just the cold, dusty air of an unused room. He recorded it once. Set up his phone on the floor, left the room, then came back 10 minutes later. When he checked the video, it showed everything clearly, except him. He never entered on camera. But his reflection did. It stood there, still, staring into the lens for 9 full minutes. Then, it smiled. Terrified, he blocked the door with a shelf and tried to ignore it. But things escalated. At 3:12 a.m. every night, the doorknob would rattle. Not violently, just enough to let him know it was trying. Then came the tapping. 5 slow knocks on the mirror, like fingernails. Then silence. As if daring him to come check. One night, after too much whiskey and not enough sleep, he gave in. He opened the door, flicked on the light, and stood in front of the largest mirror. His reflection stared back. Then, slowly, raised a hand and placed it on the glass. He didn't move. But it did. The hand pressed harder, like it was trying to break through. He stepped back. The mirror fogged over. Words began to form in the condensation from the other side. Let me remember. He didn't know what that meant. But something in his stomach twisted. The reflection didn't look like him anymore. Not exactly. The eyes were duller. The face, just slightly off. Like someone else wearing his skin. Now, he avoids mirrors altogether. Covers them. Shaves in the dark. But every now and then, he forgets. Glimpses himself. And the reflection doesn't match. It holds the stare a little too long. Smiles too soon. Sometimes, he wonders, what if it's not mimicking him anymore? What if he's the one following its lead? Because the scariest mirror isn't the one that shows your flaws. It's the one that shows something that knows you, better than you know yourself. Still think everything around you has a logical explanation. What if coincidences are just warnings in disguise? 3 people. 3 different springs. But the same presence, waiting, calculating, moving in shadows. Are you really alone while watching this, or is someone watching with you? If these stories crawled under your skin, imagine what's coming next. Subscribe to the channel, just don't blame us if the story doesn't leave you alone.